Hello, fellow Days fans. It's your old friend here, the one who's been parked in front of that screen through weddings, funerals, demonic possessions, and more baby switches than I can count. After decades of watching Salem's finest and most dysfunctional families tear each other apart and somehow stitch themselves back together, this week felt like the show was serving pure, unfiltered soap opera adrenaline. From riverbank shocks to biopsy bombshells, from grief-stricken anniversaries to budding romances that could explode at any moment, the week of May 25th to 29th delivered drama that left us gasping. If you haven't watched yet, consider this your official spoiler warning. Grab your tissues, your popcorn, and maybe a stiff drink. Let's dive in. The week kicked off with tension simmering in the Kiriakis' empire. Philip, ever the complicated son trying to balance ambition with lingering family loyalty, confided in Brady. Their conversation wasn't just brotherly chit-chat over coffee at the pub. No, this was the kind of raw, late-night exchange where years of resentment, competition, and shared trauma bubbled to the surface. Philip's voice cracked as he admitted how trapped he felt between his father's expectations and his own desire for something real. Brady, who has walked through his own fires of addiction and loss, listened with that signature mix of skepticism and reluctant empathy. You could see the weight of their history, the DiMera Kiriakis wars, the endless power struggles pressing down on both men. Will Philip's confession lead to a genuine alliance, or is it just another layer of manipulation? Only time and Victor's portrait will tell. Meanwhile, across town, Amy's world tilted on its axis in one heart-stopping moment. She stood frozen on the riverbank, staring at something half buried in the mud and reeds that no one should ever have to discover. The camera lingered on her face, the disbelief, the horror, the dawning realization that whatever she found could unravel multiple lives in Salem. Was it evidence of a long-buried crime? A token from a missing person? The show built the suspense masterfully, with the water lapping gently while Amy's breathing grew ragged. This discovery feels like it's going to ripple outward, pulling in families who thought their secrets were safely drowned. Amy isn't the type to stay silent, and if her past episodes have taught us anything, her shock is about to turn into something far more dangerous. In one of the week's most tender moments, Jennifer and Jack shared a heartfelt conversation about their children that reminded us why we fell in love with them all those years ago. Sitting in their living room, surrounded by old photos and the ghosts of stories past, they spoke openly about the joys and heartaches of raising the next generation in Salem. Jack's familiar humor peeked through, but there was real vulnerability there too, regrets over lost time, fears about the dangers their kids face daily. Jennifer, ever the emotional core, reached for his hand as they reflected on how their family has been tested by everything from stalkers to memory loss. It was classic Days, two people who have survived the impossible finding strength in each other again. Fans who have followed their epic love story through multiple deaths and resurrections couldn't help but feel the full circle. Speaking of returns, JJ's homecoming was everything longtime viewers hoped for. The moment he walked through that door, the energy in the Horton house shifted. There were hugs, tears, and the kind of quiet family chaos that only the Hortons can pull off. JJ carries so much history, his own struggles with loss, his complicated romances, his sense of duty, and seeing him back in Salem feels like the town is bracing for another storm. He didn't just return, he arrived with purpose, and you can already sense storylines forming around him like magnets. Grief united unlikely allies this week when Gabby and Gwen sat down to share their pain. What started as a guarded conversation quickly became something deeper, two women who have schemed and fought each other, now bonded by loss and betrayal. They spoke of the children they've loved and the men who broke their hearts. Gabby's fiery spirit and Gwen's calculated coolness cracked just enough to reveal the raw hurt underneath. In Salem, grief is never private for long, and this shared moment felt like the calm before they both decide to strike back at the world that wounded them. Sarah, always the voice of reason, trying to tame the wilder forces in her life, made a passionate attempt to convince Xander to change his mind about a decision that could cost them everything. Their scenes crackled with chemistry, the love, the frustration, the history of schemes and redemptions. Sarah pleaded with him, her eyes shining with unshed tears, reminding him of the family they've built and the future they could still have if he would just step away from the darkness. Xander, that Scottish rogue with a heart buried under layers of vengeance, listened but didn't fully yield. Their back and forth was pure soap opera gold, passionate, dramatic, and laced with the fear that one wrong move could shatter their fragile happiness. Jennifer, playing peacemaker as she often does, suggested that Kat step in to mediate a growing conflict. It was a smart, character-driven move that showed Jennifer's evolution from fiery reporter to wise matriarch. Kat's involvement brings her own complicated baggage, and fans are already speculating how this mediation could either heal wounds or create explosive new ones. Over in the DiMera mansion, where schemes are basically the family business, EJ updated Johnny on Tony's latest plan. The father-son conversation was layered with DiMera intrigue, power plays, corporate takeovers, and the ever-present question of loyalty. Johnny, torn between his own values and the family legacy, absorbed the information with a heavy heart. EJ, ever the polished schemer, presented it all as inevitable, but you could see the cracks in his armor. This storyline has major fallout written all over it. Then came one of the most emotionally devastating beats of the week. Chanel received her biopsy results. The scene was filmed with devastating intimacy, the sterile doctor's office, Chanel's trembling hands, the way time seemed to slow down as she waited for words that could change her life. The results brought a roller coaster of fear, relief, and uncertainty that felt painfully real. Chanel has grown so much as a character, from young love to complicated marriages, and this health scare hit especially hard. Xander and Sarah followed up their earlier tension by admitting some hard truths to each other. No more dancing around the issues the masks came off. They laid bare their insecurities, their lingering resentments, and their deep, abiding love. It was messy, beautiful, and utterly compelling. In Salem, admitting the truth rarely solves everything, but it opens the door for genuine growth or spectacular disaster. On a lighter but still charged note, Alex and Joy grew undeniably closer. Their interactions had that spark of new chemistry, flirtatious banter, mixed with real emotional connection. Alex, still healing from his own romantic wounds, seemed genuinely drawn to Joy's warmth and spirit. Viewers are divided. Is this a harmless flirtation, or the beginning of another Kyriakis love triangle that will leave casualties? Theo stepped up beautifully to comfort Paulina during a moment of vulnerability. Their scenes highlighted Theo's quiet strength and Paulina's fierce resilience. In a town full of loud drama, these gentler moments of support remind us why we care about these characters beyond the screaming matches and shocking reveals. Marlena, the town's resident psychiatrist and eternal voice of reason, hypnotized EJ in what has to be one of the most anticipated sessions in months. The hypnosis scenes were masterfully done, dim lighting, Marlena's calm voice guiding EJ deeper into his subconscious. What secrets will emerge? What suppressed memories or hidden motives might change the power structure in Salem forever? Marlena has seen it all, but even she seemed unsettled by what surfaced. Gabby opened up to Ari in a mother-daughter conversation that was long overdue. Gabby's protective fire, mixed with her own regrets, created a poignant exchange about legacy, mistakes, and the hope of doing better. Ari's responses showed her growth, and fans felt the weight of generations in every word. Tate, wise beyond his years in that classic teen soap way, advised Holly to do the right thing. Their conversation was filled with youthful urgency and genuine concern. Holly's path has been rocky, and Tate's guidance could be the turning point or the catalyst for more trouble. Amy, still reeling from her river discovery, began plotting her revenge with chilling determination. This isn't impulsive anger, it's calculated, cold, and potentially devastating. Salem better watch out. Johnny and Chanel found a small but powerful moment of hope amid their challenges. Holding each other close, they whispered promises and shared quiet optimism. In a week full of darkness, this glimmer of light felt precious. Lexie confronted EJ, demanding an explanation, bringing that signature intensity to their scenes. The history between them added layers of pain and unresolved feelings that made every word electric. Abe's confession to Theo was another standout, a father laying bare his soul to his son. The emotion was palpable, the stakes deeply personal. Abe has carried so many burdens, and this confession seemed to lift some of them while creating new complications. In a delightfully random yet perfectly Salem twist, Javi was on his way to meet his new boyfriend Gus when he unexpectedly encountered Leo. The comedy and chaos that followed had fans laughing through their tears. Leo's larger-than-life personality colliding with Javi's romantic plans? Recipe for hilarity and disaster. The emotional centerpiece of the week was undoubtedly the anniversary of John's death. Family and friends gathered with Marlena to share their grief. The scenes were beautifully written and performed, memories recounted, tears flowing freely, the profound sense of loss mixed with enduring love. Marlena's strength in the face of such pain was inspiring and heartbreaking. John Black's legacy loomed large over every frame. Belle and Brady made a shocking discovery that could rewrite recent history. Their investigation scenes had that classic detective energy the show does so well, clues, confrontations, and the dawning realization that nothing is as it seemed. Holly opened up to Sarah about her emotional struggles in a conversation that showcased both characters' depth. Sarah's empathy and Holly's raw honesty created a beautiful mentoring moment. Eli was there for Lonnie when she needed comfort most. Their bond, tested by time and tragedy, remains one of the show's strongest. Finally, Foster invited Julie to dinner, adding a touch of warmth and potential romance to close out the week on a note of possibility. What a week it was, Days fans! Hearts were laid bare, secrets clawed their way to the surface, and the stage is set for even bigger explosions next week. Salem never lets us rest, and that's exactly why we keep coming back. Who will rise above their pain? Who will fall to their worst impulses? Drop your thoughts in the comments. What plotline has you most excited or terrified for what comes next? We'll be here, watching every minute. Until next time, stay dramatic, stay fabulous, and may your Salem stories always have a twist.